10th, 2022 Board of Canvassers meeting is called into order. I'd like to take a roll call. Say present if you're name and present.
Richard Gutley, alternate.
Ellen Vadney, member.
Nancy Zitka, member.
Mark Cantor, member.
Conrad Downey, alternate.
So I know that Jackie had sent all of this to everybody, but I know we could just approve the minutes that were sent to us, but should we have a discussion?
If there are any items on the unofficial minutes for March 31st, 2022 that you would like to discuss, or any changes that need to be made, now's the time to make those comments.
Motion to accept the minutes that had been presented, if you've had a chance to review them.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
I'll go over the process that we went through in terms of what you will be certifying today. And if you have any questions, we'll call up on the screen. This I don't have on the screen, but what we did, Barbara and I in our office, we took the legislation that was passed by the General Assembly, S 2162 for the Senate, and the identical House version 7323, and compared the descriptions of the districts 69, 71, and 72, which encompass Portsmouth. Then we received the street listing from Election Data Services and compared that document with the existing street list that we had on the CVRS. We color coded it. We went through each and every street and transposed it on this map to make sure that, yes, and I'll pass it around. You're welcome to look at it. It was a fun task. Let me tell you.
Thank you for all the time you put into triple checking this, Jackie and Barbara. I know you found some errors.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We found some discrepancies. Our major concern was that everything was drawn along the district lines that the General Assembly had established. We really only had to deal with 71 and 72, and that's one line because District 69 is all of Prudence Island and Hog Island. So we took the streets from there, and you guys are welcome. With the discrepancies that we found, we sent those to EDS. For example, Bradford Avenue was missing. Dyer Street was missing along with Elliott. We are unique in that we have street names on Prudence Island that are identical or similar to street names that are on Aquidneck Island, which can be very confusing. There have been instances where voters have been put in the wrong precinct because their driver's license said Portsmouth, Rhode Island 02871 for that street address, when in fact they were Prudence Island 02872. And so this was a concern of ours that we're paying very close attention to. We also went through our voter lists, Barbara and I, and ran a report on who was registered from that street, and we found the high and the low to ensure that the ranges were within. And we did come up with a few different ranges. For example, Anthony Road, it started later. It did not include 144, which is Roger Williams University, and we do have students registered there. So by doing that, we discovered we had somebody in Alameda Terrace that was incorrect. Grant Ave, we have two voters that were on 81
That's Brant Road, and yeah, they were at the other end.
Brant Road, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Then there was something, they had a Copper Beach Drive that was not on our tax. And those were all checked with the tax list, E911, and the CBRS. So after that was completed, another iteration, the Secretary of State's office took the list that was submitted for Portsmouth by EPS and compared it with the voter list. From there, we had people who, again, they found people on 144 Anthony Road. We had already pointed that out.
Mhm.
There are people who were registered at commercial addresses that cannot be included. Reason why they got in to begin with was because the old ranges in the CVRS were, and I'll show you on my old list, you can see it was like from 1 to 100, from 1 to 300, from 1 to 800. Yes, those were the ranges, or they would do odds and evens. The new CVRS, and it's more accurate, is designed to have actual addresses, actual GIS files, to determine whether or not something is commercial or not. All those who were registered at a commercial address were sent letters letting them know that that address is being removed from the voter files and that they need to update their records. However, these people will not be removed from our rolls. They will be placed in what I believe it's called 999 precinct 9, which means that they are still eligible to vote, and they will be getting a letter from me if they don't respond within May 30th.
Has anyone
Telling-
responded?
Pardon?
Has anyone responded?
See, there are different ways for them to respond. Right now, no one has. The letters went out on May 4th.
Okay.
I gave them until May 30th
Mhm.
to update their files. They can go online to
Yes.
do so. So we'll check online to see if those are updated. If not, they'll be sent a letter telling them that they can still vote by mail with an updated, valid, verified residential address. They can still vote in person, early voting, not a problem. All they have to do is come to our office and update their address. It'll be immediate if it's within Portsmouth. And if they live outside of Portsmouth, they must change their registration by the last day to register to vote before the primary, which is August 14th. Those letters will go out. Those voters will not be, again, striked from our system, but they will be need to verify a residential address. I verified with all of the marinas. It's at Lagoon, One Little Harbor, and 2200 Narragansett Ave in Portsmouth. Those addresses are flagged as commercial. Confirmed with them that there are no residential moorings. So you can be registered to vote from a mooring, but it has to be a residential mooring. It cannot be a commercial. So that's what we did. We went through all of the voters. Some papers here. Compared it with the tax files. We needed to see a building. And that is where we stand. As of Sunday, I got an email. We were still having problems with our some voters. Because Second Street in Portsmouth is numerical. Second Street in Rhode Island is numerical. So we fixed those. Third Street, again, spelled out versus numerical. What else do we have? A commercial address on John Street, which is also a residential area with that particular address. is commercial. Few of the ranges had to be corrected. Barbara and I went through all of the voters. They've all been notified. We've all sent letters if there's a problem. And that was the step that we went through.
Did you want to ask something? I thought you had your hand raised. No?
No, no,
So-
And so what you have before you, Barbara, if you can pull them up. Brady, you can pull up the townwide one. The big map is the one that, these are the maps that you approved at the last meeting and were part of the, that will be included in the minutes from the last meeting when I post the approved minutes. So this is the overall approved map that you have. And if you wanted to, what I did is I took the street listing, the latest street listing that Ryan sent to me, and I broke it down by precinct, because on the redistricting certification sheet, you are checking that all precinct numbers are correct, that all state senate district numbers are correct, and that all state representative district numbers are correct, and that all council or ward district numbers are correct. We don't have council or ward, so that's not applicable. But this is what you're going to be looking at. So I broke it down so that you have the map that you approved, the number of population. I don't have the voters yet. That's the next step, is that Ryan sent the email to the Secretary of State's office saying that our files now are ready to be broken down by precinct so that the Board of Elections will know how many voters are in each precinct.
Mhm.
So they can plan for the equipment, the level of equipment that needs to happen, and for the inspections that.
So has EDS approved or taken responsibility for everything that's been presented here, that's been presented to the Secretary of State's office?
Oh, absolutely. They've been submitting these things on behalf of Portsmouth as per the agreement that we had with
Right.
the contract, so.
And the Board of Elections has been in the loop with all of this. So they're all set with us signing this at this point as well?
If you are comfortable with this is how it is. And we can write. I just got a note from Norellis at the Secretary of State's office. Because the database is not designed for having the same street addresses in the same town, because
Yeah.
essentially that's what it is.
Yes.
That doesn't happen and being in different precincts or different wards.
Mhm.
So they are going to input all of the Prudence Island street addresses. They're the same ones that are located, if you look on the map, if you've got 2 pages on Prudence Island.
Yep.
These are the street names. And if you look, we have the Congressional District as Congressional District 1, State Senate District 11, State Representative District 69, and the precinct 2701. These are the streets. Those are not going to change. There are more streets on Prudence Island, but they don't have voters on. So and yes, and there are some streets that are dirt roads. And I think we had one we could not find the street on the map, but it does exist. There is a structure there. That was another thing we had to verify. The structure. You will look on here in District 69. Just for you note, the very top one says Hog Island. Nobody's registered to vote on Hog Island, but it is part of the district. Does it need to be there? But we also have another island that does have structure on it, that does have one voter, and that's on Spectacle Island. That's in precinct 2702.
Anybody have any-
Jackie, could I ask, the issue with a couple streets on Prudence that match Quinnipiac Island, Portsmouth Streets, since they are different zip codes, if the address was expanded to include zip code, it would be a non-issue in the future, is that?
That's what they're doing.
Oh.
Because they've updated the CBRS since the last time this process was done. And like I said, they changed the ranges so that they can have a more accurate address. We do check addresses that come up to make sure they're not commercial, especially if they're on East and West Main roads. Or places that we know, like High Point. If someone came to me with a voter registration for High Point Avenue in Portsmouth, that I know is a commercial.
Right.
Yeah, so we would flag those, but now they're going to be flagged in a system. Because when you register at the Department of Motor Vehicles, you can register to vote from your place of business. And there have been people that have done that. There have been attempts to register to vote from a PO box. We have rejected those. We can't accept those registrations, but you can find somebody's license that has those addresses on them. So we have to be vigilant, and the Secretary of State's office is working very hard to create a database that will flag those things out.
So then, as Conrad said, we can be fairly certain that since the zip code is different, that if we go by that, that the zip code, that the street name and the zip code going together, that we can be fairly certain that that's different than on Aquidneck Island.
Look at that street listing, all of the street listings on Prudence Island have 02872 except
Yes.
for Hog Island, which is considered 02871.
But
But
there's
they
no,
don't get mail delivery. Hog Island does not get mail delivery.
and there's no voter there either.
And there is, no, there are no utilities there. Anybody who lives there has to have their own generator and well, or whatever. They have structures. People can live there. When it's live off grid, that's a nice place to go. But no one lives there now,
Right.
or no one is registered to vote from there.
Right.
Jackie, this will off the subject. I hope it should take a couple more in a second to
No.
answer, but
That's what this is.
I'm just concerned about, again, it's not directly related to this, but transit people that may register an address, have hard times, move out. They're basically homeless. How does the state law accommodate them?
If someone does not have a permanent residence, and this has happened several times where people have sold their home. They've done what is called cashing out of Portsmouth, and they don't have a permanent residence. They do have a PO box. They can register to vote from this address here at 2200 East Main Road. So they are not disenfranchised. They have a right to vote, even though they do not have a permanent resident address.
As long as they're renting or staying here in Portsmouth.
It,
Mhm.
some people are not.
They're not renting.
You know, I don't know what their circumstances are,
But they have to come.
but it is an option for someone to register to vote.
Good question.
Now you said that people can register, from their business, putting that down on their driver's license and
But
all.
they can't register to vote from their place.
They can't register to vote from their business. So getting back to the driver's license issue. So again, this isn't germane to this particular conversation, but if I come in and I have I have a driver's license that isn't old, but it's not up to date. It's not out of, it's not expired, but it's an old address.
The purpose of your photo identification for voting is just to prove that you are who you are. It is not to
All right.
verify your address.
All right, great. All right.
On election day, or even when somebody registers to vote here at our counter. When they show us their Rhode Island voter register or their driver's license, they are just proving that they are who they say they are. They are not saying that they live at a particular place.
So then-
When they fill out their form, it is a felony to lie when you're registering to vote.
Right.
So,
So then the driver's license isn't the end all and be all in terms of an identification. Could be a passport, right?
it could be a passport, yes.
Yeah. right.
Or honestly, on a Rhode Island registration form, the only two things that you must provide are either the last four digits of your social security number or a Rhode Island
Oh,
driver's
all right.
license. So it's either or, you don't have to provide both.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
No. Well, this is
Is
kind
there,
of-
is everyone ready? Is there a motion to certify?
Well, did you want to go through each precinct just to make sure?
Sure, if you
you know,
think that that's the
I think
appropriate
that's
thing.
probably, you're, because you're verifying each
Yeah.
precinct. The certificate says that all precinct numbers are correct. All Senate district numbers are correct, and all state representative district numbers are correct.
All right, so then let's go through. The first district is Prudence Island, and as you said, Congressional District 1, Senate District 11, Senate Representative 69, and Representative District 1. And that includes Hog Island as well.
Yes. Actually, all of the islands
Oh, all right.
that are on there, but there's. Prudence, Patience, Hope, Gooseberry, Dyer, and Despair.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to live on.
Hope and
I don't want to live in
despair.
dire and despair. I don't think so.
But those are, according to the legislation, those
All right.
are
All right.
part of Portsmouth that are in District
All right.
69. So,
So should we go one?
do you want to take separate votes for each of these?
I-
Okay,
I'd like. Is that all right?
That's fine with me.
That's fine.
All right, so we want to have a vote to approve precinct District 1 as stated in the address sheets and the map that Jackie has included.
I just want to see, are you seeing anything on there, Conrad? You see, you were looking, no? All right.
I'm sorry, I thought I put this on emergency mode. I'll turn it off.
It's an emergency. I. So Jackie, all the streets and everything here are correct as best as you can tell for
We have-
for District 1.
we have gone through and checked all of Barbara and I have checked
Bless you.
each of these streets on the existing CBRS and the ranges.
All right.
But they are subject to change. They're constantly building houses
Right.
all over the place, so just so you know.
But we're voting today at this time.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
I
to-
move we approve 2701.
Second,
I second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, Jackie?
3-0.
District
District 2, just so you know, the changes that were done to District 2 were to, it's basically the same footprint that was in the previous district, except that it now includes some of the voters that were in District 69.
Yeah, you admit,
So the total population now has 2702. But we included the little, if you're coming off of the Mount Hope Bridge, if
Yeah.
you turned left, that area has been assimilated in here.
Mhm.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Boyd's Lane is one side, the even side is in this district, the odd side is in the other.
Right.
So if you look on here, you'll see Boyd Lane. Yeah, Boyd Lane is the odd one, I'm sorry. So I have it incorrect.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
And then Park Avenue
Mhm.
Yeah,
differs a bit too. Park Avenue is another street that straddles two different precincts, but they're all now, everyone in this precinct will be in Congressional District 1, Senate District 11, State Representative District 71.
all right. Yep.
No one is in 70.
And all the streets are mentioned here in the spreadsheet.
And actually, when I send this certification sheet, I'm gonna give them the state this packet. Exactly what it is certified at what time in the event that there are changes.
Yeah.
Which there could be.
I move we approve precinct 2702.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
District 3.
Now, this one probably took the most creative changes. Because originally it had 3,300
Hmm.
voters. And the whole premise was to keep things under 3,000. So there were at least more, there are going to be more than 300 voters because we also pulled everyone who used to go to the senior center are now going either to same, but the Common Fence Point or here.
Mhm.
So that means that people who used to go here, who are very used to being there,
Mhm.
are not. So the boundary here, again, it's Island Park,
Yeah,
Boyd Lane.
Yep.
Bristol Ferry is going to have people that go to two different precincts.
Mhm.
The cutoff. Here, I can't see this. It's near Water and Power Streets. I know that people who used to
Yep.
go, like. I think Turnpike Ave,
Hmm.
and what is the street that runs across there? So there are gonna be people that on Turnpike Ave that go, yeah. To different places.
Jackie, could I ask, and I think you answered this before, but why the shoreline extends down so far
Because
south?
if you look,
Yeah.
there's an island called Gould.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, but they could go straight out.
Well, and also, it does go straight out because 71. well, I saw Portsmouth aspect of it, But 71 will take you to Tiverton.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that,
Shoots
yeah,
across.
so that line is going to extend.
Oh, interesting.
It's just that,
Yep.
that's the
Makes
water
sense.
line where Portsmouth and. Yeah, all of the representative districts encompass. 70. Tiverton. It might have some of Little.
Mhm.
Or any. East and West Main roads, you're gonna have to look under the M's because it's considered Main. Road. That's out of
Oh.
alphabetical order.
Oh, all right.
And you have East Power and Power Street.
But, yeah.
I'm not sure, were any of you in 27 at the high school before? Oh, can I help you find something? At the tax window? No.
No,
I move we approve 2703.
I second it.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Now, District 4 contains most of the voters who used to vote at Melville,
Hmm.
and with the new line on Water and Power Streets. So,
So Jackie, has the Board of Elections come and taken a look at the church to make sure that we're all good?
no, they have not done, they don't know how many voters there are in it yet until they do that.
Hmm.
No, they haven't done any of the inspections. I need to coordinate that. I know some communities have had it done already.
Mhm.
We have not. I did ask them for a heads up. They do know the list and it's been in your minutes
Mhm.
as to which ones and the locations.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard anything, but I will verify.
No, that's the only one that I was questioning because it's, you know, it's an older building and I know you've been over there and say it's handicap accessible and all of those things, but
I did get a heads up from somebody else who had the inspections done. The ADA inspector is going to be very difficult. Like I was looking even out here. We have chipped cement, which poses a hazard for
Mm.
people. People fall. And so we might have to be addressing those kinds of things. The only concern I have with the Friends Church is creating a van accessible parking, and it's not a paved
I know.
driveway. So there are things that we can do. We do them at Prudence Island. There are things that you can purchase that create a hard surface. And we do use those at Prudence Island so that they can have a handicap accessible. And actually, I offer that use for them whenever they have meetings at their building so that they can provide a safe environment. District 4 contains the actual district line for the different District 71 and 72. That is the district line. But if you look on the streets, we have Congressional District 1, Senate District 11, State Representative District 71.
Right.
I move we approve 2704.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we're into District 72. District 5 contains people who used to vote at Melville. And some people who actually used to vote at St. Barnabas. combined all of them. They will now be voting here at the town hall. And it is going to be kind of confusing for people who see that somebody's going across the street there to
Mhm.
vote and people are coming over here,
Mhm.
but they're two different ballots, completely different.
Right.
So
And how do you propose that we inform people in advance?
they're gonna, that's the next steps. After you certify this, we'll go over the steps because
Okay.
there will be a mailing. Because things shifted, every voter is gonna be getting a card. It's not that we just have to send out a few.
Yeah.
Every voter will be getting a card. And I will be posting all of this on our website. Along with the street listings, people can look at it. But what's really important is that they check their voter record. Because there are people who are registered to vote from the wrong address. They just never bothered to update
Yeah.
anything. So on our website, I'd like to encourage them to go to vote.ri.gov, check their voter registration to make sure that the address that they're at and the address that we have on file is the most accurate.
Do we have any plans to do press releases before the
Yes.
primary and, maybe a couple of times before the primary and maybe do the closed circuit, the TV show?
We'll do whatever we can, absolutely. Whatever you guys want to do, we will make sure that people have the opportunity to know anyway. But, yeah, the biggest change was that we included the western side of Middle Road to come here. So there are, on one side of Stub Toe goes to one precinct, the other side of Stub Toe is gonna go to another. Middle Road is cut in half, Mill Lane. But the northern boundary was definitely, it was written by the legislation, so there's nothing we can do
Yeah.
about that.
We approve 2705?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
District 6 is the St. Barnabas.
Mm.
That's the largest group I think that we have right now, with a total population of 2937. This is, again, it encompasses some of Middle Road, primarily the east part of Portsmouth. Sandy Point Ave is
Is it Sandy Point Ave? Is it again?
one side will be on
Yeah.
2706, and the other one will be 2707. A little portion.
Yep.
Cut off, portion of Union Street that is going to be in 2706.
That's up by the historical building.
Right. Once you get to the intersection of Middle Road there, that's when it.
Yeah. Yep. The good thing about Sandy Point is that there's very few people on on Sandy Point itself. There are very few people on the southern side of the street.
Lots of horses.
No, I know, on specifically there, now on Adams, obviously on Adams and other, on the tributaries there are, but not nearly as much on the northern side. Well, because all the way up to Union, there are houses on the northern side.
Right.
And you have the school too, though, but you have houses up there. I made a mistake there. I meant to East Main Road. You have houses all the way up. When the other side, it's just the horse farm, and then down further down as you get down to the river. Obviously, you have more houses, and you have the tributaries off on Adams and off there.
I move we approve 2706.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
Yep.
So. Lastly, District 7.
Again, we're going to make sure that these all have Congressional District 1, Senate District 11, Representative District 72. And this will be at the middle school.
yep,
This has a total population, or at least according to the 2020 census, of 2860.
mhm,
So we have remained underneath the 3,000. With room to grow. There are a lot of people who live in Portsmouth who don't register to vote.
yep.
We'll discuss that later. I think influence them to register.
And this
But-
precinct was at the middle school before, largely,
Correct.
right?
Right.
This really hasn't changed much
Right,
at
but
all.
it has shifted because in the, the boundaries moved farther south
Yeah,
Mhm.
for this district because we were over 3,000.
Gotcha.
And yeah, we were at 3279
right.
when all was said and done. So we needed to take some, there was a lot of shifting that had to happen. If they had been able to pass the legislation to allow us the 3,500, our boundary lines wouldn't have shifted as drastically as they did. We're safe. They may choose to change. But we do have wiggle room. You were very wise
Yes, we were.
to do that.
It's not a lot of wiggle room.
I move we approve 2707.
Sure, I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Unanimous. Okay.
So what will happen next is email that I got. The town of Portsmouth feedback, their street range is ready to precinct assignment testing. So what they're gonna do now is they're gonna take the list of voters with the street lists that you just certified.
Or will
I can send you
certify.
your will certified. And they're going to run a test. They're going to gather, again, voter files. This is not within the precinct or, this voter isn't included in the list, or if there's any problem with the voter files. And Barbara and I will investigate like we have been doing, either notify the voter or ask that they change the file so to reflect where that voter lives. In some instances, we're coming up, there are unusual addresses that people are cancel that. I don't know if there have been changes in E911 We often find people who buy a particular property and then face their dwelling in a different direction, which ends up on a different street. Some of the developers are not very creative in their streets naming because they'll have, you know, Thayer Court, Thayer Road. I had, you know, Kristen Ave, Kristen Court, Kristen, you know, and it goes, so, and they'll face things differently. Or have access differently. So that's the next step that we'll be working on. Then, once that test has been confirmed that it's the most accurate list possible, it's gonna go to a printer that you approved at the February meeting. The postcard, we'll have those postcards made up and they will be sent to all of the voters so that they will be notified. Everything will be published. Once the Board of Elections approves the polling locations, I can't publicize the polling locations until they have been approved by the Board of Elections. But safe to say, I think we can safely caution voters, don't assume that you're going to be voting at the same location that you always have. You know, that you do need to check your voting record, make sure it's the most up to date, accurate. And I think that's it. The remaining steps in the timeline. Preparations for the 2022 elections. If you are, I have to do a voter registration drive for the high school. And my idea is to contact the assistant superintendent. Because honestly, Barbara and I sitting in a cafeteria during lunch is just, it's demeaning, guys. It just does not. It doesn't serve a purpose, honestly. So if it's at all possible, I had created like a possible ad that we can put in their graduation ceremony program, or even in their music program that says, your future, your voice, register to vote. Congratulations, class of 2022.
I like that.
From the Portsmouth Board of Canvassers. If they have an event, like a practice for graduation, I'm happy to show up with donuts. Whatever you think is best, I'm open to suggestions. Just trying to engage people. People are feeling very alienated from voting of all ages, but particularly young people. So if there are any suggestions that you might have, I'm willing to listen.
Is there a government class or whatever they have now?
It's civics.
Civics, yeah. is it-
I think they're pretty much winding down classes.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very difficult thing. When elections are happening, they're just starting school. So to have something on top of the orientations and everything is difficult. But I'd like to recruit them to vote, to not only to vote, but to be poll workers.
Right.
You know, I think that they would be awesome. So. You know,
Is there any reason we can't go sit in the cafeteria?
welcome to.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, we can register people to vote, and recruit poll workers there.
Well, I was thinking too, I mean, I know that they have their concerts and the end of the year, that would allow some of the parents too, like you can encourage them, why don't you go on your phone and check your voter registration? You know, are you registered to vote? From where are you registered to vote?
maybe we could get some of the parents to work the polls too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if
Because
we
we need a new generation or
Right.
multiple generations of
Yeah,
people to step up.
Absolutely.
So, and if you guys, if I got a list of events that are going on and provided the materials, maybe we can rotate, you
Yep.
know, I'm happy to go.
Yeah,
Like say, you go hit the band concert, I'll hit awards night or, you know, if they're open to it, you know, I understand there's a lot going on right now. But that would be great. We'll rotate and
I
encourage
happen to
people.
know there's a school committee meeting tonight,
Mhm.
so I can find things out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Find out what's happening. Like I said, if they're doing voter, or if they're doing, you know, graduation practices, I'll show up with donuts. I'm fine with that. I can get.
I'd
Okay.
show up with you, Jackie.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
we can do that.
And the same going for poll worker recruiting. We did in 2020, we had an event at Foodworks in February of 2020. That was well received. We had invited past poll workers. State election officials came from the Board of Elections as well as from the Secretary of State's office. And it was nice. And I think that we would have had a lot of the same people working in 2020 if COVID didn't hit within a matter of weeks later of the event. So if there's something like the summer that I think that we could plan to not only thank everybody who participated, who came to help us out in 2020 and 2021, that might encourage them to
Sign up again.
sign up again.
Yeah.
When you say go and talk to the kids, I mean, should we have a prepared statement to make, like that? Like I've always said, if, the kids are the future, right? And so do we have a prepared statement to say that, hey, you control everything. Stuff, you control everything. And voting is the first step in it. We can talk about Portsmouth, the compact. We can actually talk about the history of Portsmouth and the compact and all that. I actually think that's a neat thing that very few towns have that. And try to whip up their
In the
their
past,
civil.
Barbara and I found that our interns were a tremendous resource for us. And since COVID happened, we lost the intern. I would like to consider doing that again. And what it was is high school juniors applied for the internship position. They worked part-time in our office that summer preparing for the election. And then on election day, they were required to work on election day.
Yeah.
And they also were our recruiters.
They did a great
Because
job.
Oh,
honestly-
yeah, they were awesome.
They really were.
They
The-
got the other high school students to help set up the
Peer
polling
communication.
locations
Yeah,
too.
they
That
were
was very
wonderful.
helpful.
Peer communication
Yeah.
is so much more effective than,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going into a classroom and saying, you know what? I just want you to think about what your day is like. You get up in the morning. What time is it? That is regulated by the government. Is it daylight savings time? Is it Eastern Standard Time? Is it,
Right.
Central Time? Someone determines that. Okay. You get into your car, you drive to school. How many inspections did you have to go to get your license? To have your vehicle pass inspection? You are going into your classroom. What books do you have in your hand? Who determines that? Your school committee.
Yeah.
You get into the cafeteria for lunch, and what are you eating? Who determines that? So you go through your whole day trying to explain to them how regulated it is, and that there are people other than yourself making those decisions. But I don't think I have the power to make that impact on them. But
Right.
when you think about it, if you really think about it and you ruminate over it, you have to decide who you're giving power to. And I don't think that power is something that is discussed
Right.
regularly. Because it is quite fascinating. who you give it to, how much of it you have yourself,
Mhm.
how do you use your own power?
Right.
Those kinds of things. And those are really tough conversations to have.
Mhm.
But if you're willing to have that conversation, Mark,
Mhm.
I
would
think,
have it.
I think it's cool.
I think kids would love to know that they'll have power.
I agree.
I think,
I agree.
I don't see, you think it's tough. I don't know. I mean, they're the future. You're right. They have power. They have power to make decisions over the regulations. The power to make this, right, they have power to make decisions if they want to have their car inspected once every 2 years, once every 4 years, or never. There are states that they don't have inspections.
And I think I also did the exercise with the poll workers, where I took the census data from 2020, and we went back in time. I don't know if any of you were you there for that?
Yes.
Okay, so we gave everybody a profile using the data from the census, and it was you were either male or female, between a certain age, or over 21, under 21, and of a particular ethnicity based on the population at that time.
Mhm.
So everyone stood up at the very beginning,
Mm.
and they had the right to vote, and we were going back in time. And as we went back in time, those particular demographics had to sit down.
Mm.
Like if you were, under 21,
Mhm.
then you had to sit down. If you were a woman,
Mhm.
you had to sit down.
Mhm.
If you were a Native American, you had to sit down. And I went through historically what happened at the time. Native Americans had to apply for citizenship. Not until after World War I. So they couldn't so we got progressively down to there were only 2 people left standing in the entire room. And those were the 2 people who were going to make the decisions for everyone in the room for the rest of the day. Yeah, so, there's lots of ways to show power and voice, but
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get the ad into any of the programs if they haven't already been determined yet. And if the Portsmouth Times does a senior one, I'll put it, but this is what it. But that's pretty much what I have. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 14th at 3 p.m. Is there any need to alter? We're
Well,
good?
I know, Mark, you're going to be there.
I'm fine.
Oh, are you?
No, we changed our, just so happens we're going to be back.
Oh, good.
So Richard doesn't have to sit in for me.
Ma'am? Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll post it too. There were, when I post it, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the maps with the street listings that were certified. Yes, once I figure that out, but I'm happy to get you copies. It wasn't because the changes that were being made were Sunday, and I had to post on Thursday. No.
But anyone starting to talk about it, comments about what's going on and who's. That's great. I want to hear the conversation, but civics should have already been having them, but you never know. So a reminder is always.
That's great. Okay. Alrighty. Just verify it for me so that I okay, that's good. And what time?
All right, well, are we going to go ahead and, these are copies. Do you
That's
have the
copies. I have the
original?
original right here.
Okay, and I noticed, do you have room for everybody else's signature? Because this is just the two of us.
This came from the state. So
Okay,
you are
so
the
it's
only-
just,
What I'm
just,
gonna
the-
have
just
to
the
ask
two.
everybody to do though, I have to go around and where the check is, initial, so that everybody has initial
okay,
and then show.
All right.
thank you. I was wondering if this was an error.
This is the form
All
directly
right, so show
from,
me exactly,
I'm just gonna put town, all council, ward, districts, that's not applicable.
all right,
So you did the precinct, senate,
Yes.
and representative.
and do I,
Yep, initial right there, and she'll sign.
what you're saying?
It's just once every 10 years.
And I guess do we all initial?
Everybody will initial.
All
All
initial.
council ward district.
The other place to do it is when, the other place to do it is when the kids have commandeered their parents'
No,
house
Jeff.
for a party and the
Sit
parents
right
are
beside
like,
them.
signature
do it
above
then.
this and then above it?
So you
Oh,
do
so
it
you-
right
oh,
there,
okay, so this
right
is my
before they've
signature.
gone into the liquor cabinet. And right before they're going swimming in the pool.
And then print here?
No, you don't have to, because I typed it.
No, I only
Oh.
say this because I was a kid. That's all. Actually, I had it happen to my brother. And I decided,
My error.
we lived on the river. However, we had a big house, in our house.
Okay, so is there a motion to,
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And this time's gonna be posted. So you can take a look at any time if you have to look up a particular street. I'm sorry. He does an amazing job.